Look at you. The investment that refused to collapse. They thought you'd be a short-term stock, volatile, emotional, predictable. But you turned into an empire that doesn't crash. They funded your downfall like it was a startup. They poured time, energy, and dirty money into watching you fail. Every rumor, sponsored. Every betrayal, crowdfunding. Every whisper, paid promotion. They built entire meetings around your destruction. Signed checks to your name just to keep you quiet. But silence can't be bought. Not when it belongs to someone who's listening. You learned. You watched. You collected data. Every laugh, every plot, every knife in the back, all stored like evidence in a vault of patience. They thought you'd collapse like a bad investment. But you were the inflation. Your pain increased in value every time they bet against you. You became too expensive to hate, too strong to silence, too focused to manipulate. And when the dust settled, when their budgets ran dry, they realized something brutal. You didn't just survive their spending spree. You made them bankrupt in relevance, because every dollar they used to stop you was proof that they could never beat you. You remember the early bids, the way they whispered your worth in rooms you never entered, your loyalty sold for favors, your name traded in group chats, your silence auctioned to the highest coward. They didn't stab you once, they shared the knife, passed it around like a trophy, laughing as they sliced pieces off your reputation. They called it strategy. You called it betrayal wearing perfume. They made your downfall a business deal, a marketplace of masks and false witnesses, each one bidding to own a story they didn't live, each one desperate to buy the illusion of being better than you. But you stayed calm because you knew the truth. Every sale leaves a trail. Every fake smile leaves a fingerprint. Every whisper leaves an echo that never quite dies. You became quiet, not broken. While they spoke in noise, you started recording silence. You turned memory into evidence. You turned humiliation into inventory. You saw who stood by and who stayed quiet, and you wrote it all down. Not with ink, with time. Because time doesn't forget. It just waits for the auction to end. And when the bidding was over, when their laughter ran out, you were still standing. Unsold, unowned, unbought. Because loyalty isn't a product, and you were never for sale. They thought you disappeared. They assumed silence meant surrender. But you were simply calculating interest. Every second you spent in the dark was an investment. Time converting into precision. They mocked your absence, called it failure, called it fear. But you weren't gone. You were growing. While they laughed, you studied. While they spent, you built. They bought applause. You bought discipline. They hired distractions. You hired solitude. They chased noise. You mastered silence. You started trading emotion for control, pain for patience, loss for leverage. Every disappointment became data. Every betrayal became a pattern. You started seeing through people like glass, their motives, their cracks, their addictions to attention. Your mind turned into a vault, storing rage like gold. Every memory, a coin. Every insult, an investment. And when the time came, you knew exactly what to withdraw. You became strategic, measured, dangerous. You didn't shout. You studied their habits, their weaknesses, their patterns of panic. You watched how quickly they fold when the applause stops, how desperate they get when ignored. You didn't need chaos anymore. You became the economy of it. You didn't need revenge. You designed it. calculated it, perfected it. Because revenge, for you, was never emotional. It was accounting. And every sleepless night was a deposit toward dominance. They thought patience made you passive, but patience made you lethal. Because real power isn't loud, it's the silence. Right before the debt is collected, then it happened. The market shifted. Their lies stopped selling. The audience they once controlled began to question the script. The applause grew weaker, the stage lights dimmed, and you, the ghost they mocked, started appearing everywhere. Results, recognition, resilience. Your rise didn't need promotion. It was organic terror. No posters, no campaigns, no sponsors. Just your name whispered in boardrooms that used to laugh at you. Just your presence haunting timelines like an unpaid bill. They tried to bury you under headlines and gossip, but the algorithm of fate doesn't take bribes. It favors endurance. It favors truth wrapped in scars. They spent more money, more energy, more lies. Every move was panic disguised as strategy. They tried to erase you, but every attempt wrote you deeper into history. Every false claim became free marketing. Every slander turned into curiosity. Every denial created demand. And then came the crash. Their empire of rumors defaulted. Their fake applause depreciated. Their influence lost value overnight. Because here's the truth. Money buys exposure, but not authenticity. It buys claps, not legacy. It buys followers, not loyalty. They invested in your destruction. You turned it into advertising. They spent millions to dim your light and still ended up illuminating your name. You didn't ruin them. They did that themselves by underestimating the one thing money can't manipulate: consistency. You didn't destroy their market. You became it. And now, every mention of your name is their most expensive mistake. You became the headline they couldn't delete, the living algorithm they couldn't outsmart. Every time they plotted, your presence spiked. Every time they whispered, your relevance multiplied. Their hatred became marketing. Their gossip became distribution. Their envy became engagement. Every dollar they burned trying to bury you became your advertisement. Every meeting they held against you became your promotion. Every insult they posted became a tagline for your triumph. You mastered the art of non-reaction. You stopped fighting fire. You let it brand your name into stone. You weaponized patience. You turned silence into a strategy. You made endurance look expensive. They couldn't comprehend it, how you managed to profit from their poison, how your stillness made more noise than their chaos. Their obsession became a tax they couldn't afford. Their anxiety, a subscription they never canceled. And your silence, compound interest. The longer you waited, the richer your revenge became. By the time they realized, you were untouchable, unpurchasable, unstoppable. You didn't just win, you rewrote the rules of the game. You changed the entire economy of revenge. They spent to destroy you. You earned from the exposure. They built traps. You built an empire from the blueprints. They tried to burn your name. You sold the ashes as souvenirs. You walked through fire and charged admission. Because victory isn't loud. It's silent. It's calculated. It's profitable. And in this war they started, you didn't just survive the fire. You became the reason it burns. And now you stand here, a living audit. Every scar, a calculation. Every breath, a balance sheet. Their loss statement is carved into your grin. You didn't need vengeance. You became proof. Their biggest expense was your endurance. Their most devastating loss, your survival. They paid in time, in envy, in sleepless nights, and the interest kept climbing. Because you were never just a target. You were an investment that refused to depreciate. A risk that multiplied in silence. A storm that matured in patience. They thought you were a phase. You became a financial collapse in human form. They thought your story would expire. You turned it into recurring revenue. You are what happens when investment meets inevitability. You are inflation in human form, uncontrollable, unpredictable, unforgiving. They thought money could bury the storm. But storms don't care about budgets. They don't negotiate. They don't wait for clearance. They flood everything. You became the fine print they ignored, the hidden clause that bankrupts empires, the cost they never calculated, the aftermath they can't insure. And now, their legacy is written in your rise, their downfall branded in your persistence, their defeat audited by your existence. They spent everything trying to stop you, and still couldn't afford your silence.